Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Green Team of the Legendarium. Today, I'm your host, Befuddled Panda, and I have with me Chesky.
Hello.
Hi, Chesky. We're back to round out the Witch Roads duology by Kate Elliott. Earlier in this year, we covered The Witch Roads, the first book in this duology, and
Mhm.
today we're here to cover the sequel, The Nameless Land. Just a quick disclaimer, Green Team received an arc of The Nameless Land by Kate Elliott, courtesy of NetGalley and Tor Publishing Group. We thank them for the early copy for review, and all our opinions are our own. Actually, as of publishing with the release of this episode, the Nameless Land is already out in the world. It released on November 4th. So feel free to go out and get your own copy. Obviously, we would recommend you read The Witch Road first. And our episode for that will be linked in the show notes. So today we're going to talk about the conclusion of this duology. Um, Initial spoiler-free thoughts here, Chesky, for this conclusion. What did you think? Did you like it? Did it land for you? General thoughts.
As far as this book landed, I thought it was really good. I thought it followed not the same style, but not the same style, but it followed the first one really well as a sequel. Sometimes it did feel a little long for me, as not that it's not in the title, but it was a very long. It was
Yeah.
lots of traveling, and that is fine. It's whatever. But throughout the whole book, every time I'd be like, okay, I've got it planned out. I figured it out. It would be completely different in like the next 10 pages. And I'm like, I cannot figure out what's going to happen.
Uh-huh.
But good ending at the end, good things in the middle. Overall, still a good book.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it is quite long, and I think, like, maybe she did write this whole thing as one story and then realized how long it is, and so had to split it into 2. But
Mhm.
a lot of the things that I enjoyed by the end of the first book, we also got in the second book. It picks off sorry, it picks up immediately right after, where the first one ended, and I was it did not take me very long to get back into this world. I really enjoyed it. To me, it was very immersive. Her world building is just very I I think comforting is the word, but it's like it's just very, a lot to sink into, and it
Yeah.
felt very lived and real.
I was going to say it feels very real. It feels very real in that a long time has not even a long time has passed, but just a lot of knowledge has been lost. And
Mhm.
the way that she gives us some things that we learn, but we learn what they learned, which is not what even really happened, but it's what we think happened, what they think
Mhm.
happened from the last time. And it just makes it feel so, lived and real, where it's like, well, this is what actually is, but this is what they think, and this is how they think, and this is where this comes from. But it makes sense, like the things that get passed down, or the things that
Mhm.
gets like kind of stuck in the memory of certain people of certain things, and that get kept, versus not. So I thought that was really good. I like you thought this was super easy to get back into. I picked it up and I was like, okay, yeah, it took me a couple chapters. But okay, yeah, this is all my main characters. This is the story. This is what was going on.
Yeah.
And then just confusion and chaos.
Adventure. Yeah. So I think, like you said, like we get a lot of the main characters, we get introduced to new characters, and there's this general like mystery involved. I mean, there is like a mystery at the beginning in the first book, but it wasn't really like set up as a mystery until more towards the end of that first book, whereas in the second one, like, that mystery is what kicks off this book and
Yeah.
what carries through the rest of the plot.
I agree. Yeah, it was a ride.
It
It's
was
a ride
right.
from start to finish. We're still in non-spoiler, so I don't wanna say that yet. As far as non-spoilery goes,
Well, like, what would you rate this?
I think I'd wanna just give it a solid 4. I feel like it was
Okay.
still really good. The length, yeah, I just cut out a little bit of that, and I think it lands even better. Some
Mhm.
of it just I did feel, especially at the beginning, there was a couple scenes that felt a little bit more repetitive.
Mm.
The very, like, this happens, and then we're told this happens again, and we're shown that it happened, and then that's fine. So I think a solid 4 for me is where I'm gonna
Okay.
land.
I think for me it's a little higher. It's like more 4.25, 4.5. I do agree that it could have been shortened a bit. There's a bit more detail um and like I guess hashing out of details between characters that could have been tightened up. But overall I think this was a pretty solid conclusion to your point earlier about like not like things taking a turn and, like, not as predictable,
Mhm.
um, for the reader, that was pretty fun for me. I was like, "Oh, it's gonna be XYZ, like, this is how it's been done before," but then, she takes a bit of a different approach to it, and I thought that was nice.
Yeah, I agree. It was a very well plotted out book, very well, reasoning for what happens and what's going on. That was
Yeah.
good. No big complaints on that kind of thing at all. So,
So, what kind of reader would you recommend this to now that we've finished the entire story?
mm, I don't remember who I recommended it to the first time, but I think I'm gonna have to go. If you like the history, I mean, not that we see like a ton of it, but you can tell it's there and you can kind of feel it.
Mhm.
Um, if you like, just your regular kind of adventure story, this has definitely got, our main character Ellen just really figuring stuff out and like going through it, kind of surviving. So but she gets through a bunch of a tight scrapes there
Yeah.
without saying anything. Like, yeah, the mystery, yes and no. Like, I don't know if you're really into like mystery books. If this is the book that's gonna like grab you,
It's like
it does have
it's
a nice.
political intrigue.
Yeah, it is more political intrigue. Yes, that's a good way. That's the right way to say it, Panda. It's the right way to say it. Um, so if you like that, of course, I think you'll like it. I think anybody who if you've read any of her books before, I think this will fit right in with you.
I do think you would need to be okay with the amount of traveling, like the pacing and the kind of storytelling that
Hmm.
like traveling plot would have. Um and then it's, like, immersive world building, but it's also not, like, too much, like, super in-depth. There are some parts that are more in-depth if it's more relevant to the plot, to the characters, but it's not like, I'm gonna tell you every detail about this plant in this world.
Right.
That plant has to serve a purpose for either the characters or the story.
Well, it feels like,
Um
yeah, anything important we kind of learn more about, but
Mhm.
anything not important, like
Yeah.
it just is there. It's there, but there's a history, but it doesn't talk about it.
Yeah. Okay. So with that, you ready to move into spoilers?
I'm ready to try.
All right. So moving into spoilers, we will try to give a summary of this book. A lot does happen, but the gist is, you know, Elle is basically the prince knows about her special ability with the Viper,
Mhm.
and he obviously wants to use her for his own gain. They have reached this far boundary vigil They found everybody that was serving there are dead, including this, like, mysterious envoy, whom, where did they come from? And we
Yeah.
find out, oh, the envoy likely came from the Nameless Land, which turns out the prince had dealings with Elo how do we say her name? Eliowina?
I just called her Elowena. Yeah.
Elowena. Um, one of the nobles from the Nameless Land and happens to be the lady of the court that Elle was an atoner for
Mm.
when she was there.
I
Um,
think you mean to call the land Arlandia.
I mean, Farlandia.
Because that was just so funny every time I read it. I was like, of course you'd name it that. Like, what a
Farlandia. But
what
that's
a
that's the
totally
name that the prince
inspired
gave
name.
it. Yeah. Not necessarily, like, that is
No,
the
I know.
name.
I just
Yeah.
it was just funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually called the Four Lands, I guess.
Yes.
Um,
The north, south, east, west is what they go
yeah.
by.
So where were we? Oh yeah, the summary. And then basically it turns out that the only because they see a huge like army basically coming towards them and they deduce that it's likely Lord Dwyn, the the pompous, stupid uh man who takes himself too seriously.
M's father, yeah.
Kim's father, unfortunately. And so the prince and his whole cohort, like, they come up with this plan to go hide, um, in the Paul, but not really in the Paul. It's just like FOMO and L are able to get them across
Mhm.
and they're able to hide. And L is supposed to be a distraction. She basically learns that, hey, the person behind this whole plot trying to prove that the prince is committing treason is actually not Prince Astelin. Astelin?
You're going way more into depth of the summary than I was gonna go into.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll skip ahead then. This is what happens when I don't write anything down ahead of time. Um, basically, so Elle finds some potential proof that the person the prince thought was behind this ploy trying to get him, charged for treason may not be the person that he had thought. And so while the prince and his group were hiding, turns out that the Ivers uh, had formed an alliance with Lady Elowina, and
Oh,
they were
Lord
all brought.
Ella he did form one with him, with, her and him. They formed the
Well,
same
formed it
alliance
with
with
her
both.
first.
Yeah, it's with her first.
With
You're
her
right, you're
first.
right.
Brought them to her court, and then there's this whole big reveal about, what her plan was and that the map that they had found at the Far Boundary Vigil was likely not from her, and then there was more betrayal where Lord Thalen, who was her betrothed and cousin, basically formed another alliance with the Ivers and offered them a better deal. And long story short, because this is a really long summary, long story short, um, the good people win. The prince dies, but the haunt comes back and is able to, um, quote unquote, live happily ever after with Elle.
Yeah. That was a good summary.
No, it
My
was
my
not. Chesky. It's not a good
my
song.
take my take of the summary would go something a little bit more like this. The prince continues to blackmail Elle into trying to kill the emperor for him while they travel every which way and what every which way they can to try and get back home in time to stop plots while, doing things. And then They get to the end, more political machinations happen. He dies, and everybody lives happily ever after with the haunt coming back. And the haunt does make a nice show in the middle of the book.
Yes, yes. Let's use your summary instead. How about that?
I'm gonna keep both in. I like both.
No, mine's
Oh,
so white.
Panda,
Yeah,
how did you feel, character-wise about Elle in this one? About Ellen?
I liked her. Overall, I really liked her. I did find the uh overprotectiveness, I guess, of Kem got a little old at the end.
Yeah, that is
Um,
true.
but overall, like I really enjoyed her character and her quirks and how resourceful she is. I do think perhaps some readers might think that she's a little too it like gets out of scrapes a little too easily, but I overall
Uh,
really enjoyed it.
I don't think that's it. I liked her again. She was a great character to be in her head. You're right, the overprotectiveness of Kim is a little strong in certain situations. Like I get it, but at the same time, it's like, this feels like we've been with the book for a while and like a lot of time has passed, but it's really like not that much time is
Oh
passing in
yeah,
this whole
yeah, yeah.
book. Right. And so I'm like, by the end of the book, I'm like, come on, you guys have been traveling forever. And I'm like, oh, wait, no, you guys haven't been traveling forever. It's been like, a month maybe or two. Like,
Yeah.
so it's not like unreasonable. But the thing that got to me was she felt much like every time she was like, oh, I'll never see the haunt again. Oh, he's gone forever. Ah, I just miss him so much. I was like, I get it. You're in love with him, but like I feel like this is a bit excessive for who you are as a character. Like, and then when he comes back the first time, she's like, he came back. That was all that mattered. And then it was a lot of that. He just came back. So she was happy just because, like, okay, like that's I felt like it was a little over the top for her character. Her
Mm,
love or her showing her love for him. Is
mm.
that like I believe she loved him. I believe they love each other, right? And that she really cared. And I don't know. Did you feel that at all, or am I just way out of line here?
I don't think you're out of line. I think that, there was a bit more of that in the book,
Okay.
than I think is necessary, but it was also not too distracting for me. Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah.
I kinda just, like, start skimming a little bit if it's I'm like, okay, I get the point." What about the prince? What did you think about the prince between book 1 and book 2?
We see him a lot less in book one. Um,
He's very
he,
arrogant, right?
he's v-
Very, like,
yeah,
exacting and,
he's very
um
typical prince-like.
yeah.
Do this because I say. I punish you because I can. I'm showing you these secrets just to show you the power that I have to reveal these secrets, and I don't care if it was a nice. Well, yeah, like it's a nice thing he does at the end. But again, I think it's more just to save his own skin. Like where he's like, you can
Well, he
bring me
it's not
to
to save
the
his own skin. It's to save his
uh,
mom, his
it's to
mother.
save his mom, but I think he's also, I don't know. I don't think he changed that much to think that he might be able to, find a time when he can get, the haunt to leave his body. Sarah alive to actually like, leave him for whatever reason, and he might have a chance of getting out,
I
of
kind
breaking
of
free afterwards. But
I disagree. So, for me, the prince in the 2nd book, obviously, we got to see a lot more of him because he's not being possessed by the haunt anymore.
Mhm.
We do see more nuances with his character where he's not just, like, as obnoxious, as when he was in the 1st book. I think Elliot did take some time to give more depth and show that the prince was changing. Like, he was learning and he was, changing in small ways sometimes, or, like, at least there's more depth to him than just arrogance and being an obnoxious, like, ruler, where he holds his tongue and doesn't lash out, when certain people say things or do things that he doesn't agree with, or, like, you know, an example would be him with his whip, whereas, like, in the first chapter, or like the beginning of the second book, we see that he hits Elle with his
Yeah.
whip. But then throughout the second book, he had multiple opportunities where, he could have, and he probably normally would have, but his character was starting to like change a bit, where he was like catching himself and, he was reaching for his whip, but he didn't actually use it. So that's just like one example. I think towards the at the end, how I take his like sacrifice or
Mhm.
whatever is there is somebody that he cares about more than himself, and that's his mother. And so it was him showing that he can take actions that is just beyond serving himself, because like
Mhm.
he's not gonna be here anymore, right?
Sure.
Um, I think his captain,
Yeah.
Simo, Simo's death did
Mhm.
have quite a bit of impact on him, and I think that was a bit of a kind of a turning point for him as a character,
Yeah.
and the other observations that Elle had of the prince where he he did take the time and put in the hours to train in, being a field medicine doing field medicine and train in, like, burial rites and train in, all these, like, other things, like history and, horse riding and whatever, fighting, etcetera. And it's, like, the difference between him and, his siblings where they didn't put in the effort to do all these
Right.
things, and instead they're using like, back channels and wealth and like their titles to get what they want, as opposed to like proving that they really, quote unquote, could earn the title of ruler.
Sure. I you listening to you, I can see it and I can kind of see it. I guess his impression just it was a very forceful and strong impression from the beginning of the first book and then
Yeah.
the beginning of the second book. And so it kind of just stuck with me more where I was
Sure.
like, yeah, you're just a prince, that's what you do. Like I was glad that he was willing to save his mom at the end, right? Or to set them to save his mom,
Well, and
right?
also, I mean, I don't think it wouldn't have crossed his mind that if he lets the haunt embody him again, right, then Elle would have the haunt in her life again. Like, they could actually be together. So,
But
to
does the
me,
prince
that
care about that?
well, you could say, like, he doesn't care, that's kinda just like a side benefit, but he is entrusting Elle with a lot, where he's entrusting her
Mhm.
to hold up her end of the bargain, because he's not gonna be there to, like, oversee it and make sure that she is going to carry it out and save his mother.
Sure. No, I can agree with that, and I did like that the prince was the one who was like he'd put in a lot of effort and a lot of function, into like actually being competent. And he was
Mhm.
competent at a lot of things. In the first half, he feels a lot less competent, I think, than he might actually be because tricked and being confused and betrayed. But then he makes the deal with Elowena and then Thalen, but that kind of all goes completely poorly, right?
Mhm.
And so I feel like his competence doesn't shine there as much. Mainly, he doesn't have a lot of control there, and then when he does
Yeah,
later on, he can really start showing it a little bit more.
right.
But I almost maybe needed a little bit more competence shown up front versus haughty arrogance,
Okay.
right? In the first half, he's very, you do this, and the naivety of being of with Lord Duen, where he's like, Lord Duin's coming to the castle. Oh, great. Well, let's go out and meet him. He'll listen to me because I'm the Lord. And everybody's like, there's 7 of us and there's 200 of them. Like, if you go out there, you will die. And he's like, no, why would I die? Like, remember that one time you kind of like insulted him in front of everybody? And he's like, well, yeah, because he was wrong and I was right. And so I did that. And they're like, maybe he didn't like that as much as you think he liked that. And so that naivety does not lead to believing in competence, right? That leads to very sheltered prince kind of attitude,
Yes,
right?
but okay, so, like,
But
I get
but
your
then his
point,
competence does shine later. That's
but I
I'm
think
just
it's more character growth to me. It's like,
okay.
his whole life, like, he's been in the court and, there's a certain etiquette, right? It's a
Mhm.
very strict etiquette, but then once you're out in, like, quote, unquote, "the real world," the further away you are from the court, right, the less that etiquette is really upheld, and especially for a character like Lord Dwayne, where he he's ambitious and he's got a backer that is more powerful than
Oh
the
yeah.
prince, right? Which the prince doesn't know at that time. But once he starts figuring it out, then it's like, okay, I need to change my strategy. I need to change my approach to the situation.
Yeah. I'm not
Not
opposed to this. It's just I needed a little bit more competence up front is all. Um
okay.
I liked the characters and their, growth and changes as well. We talked a lot about the prince. He was definitely an interesting character to keep reading about, and he does change and grow and be different. I
Yeah,
just don't know if it was
from
enough to overcome my initial thoughts of him.
so, like, from the beginning of the Witch Road to now the end of the Nameless Land, I
Mhm,
wasn't expecting my, like, feelings for the prince as a
mhm.
character to change so drastically. Like, in book 1, obviously, I was just like, "Oh my goodness, okay, it's gonna be one of those." And then by the end of, the Nameless Land, I'm like, "I'm actually sad that he died." What about other characters? So we've got, obviously we have like Captain Simo who died. We've got Sheilin? Shizelin?
How do you spell that one?
It's the
Yeah, okay.
XIL.
Zilla? I don't remember
We
how it
all have
is.
such different pronunciation.
This is one of the few books that doesn't have a pronunciation guide, and while I was happy about that, because I feel like a pronunciation guide hints at everything that's gonna be really important in the book that you have to know, like which characters are actually important versus just going through it. I kinda
Yeah.
wish this one had had a little bit of one,
This one would have been
but
helpful
not,
to have.
yeah, like, yeah, exactly, this one would have actually been useful versus a lot of them which aren't. Um, she was good, she was always interesting. Um, I don't
What
know,
do
I
you
don't
think about
think
the reveal of her being a prince?
that was surprising.
Yeah.
That was surprising. It was something I'd forgotten about in the first book that they're very, gender neutral about all their callings, like prince is
Prince
a
is a
title, not a
title.
yeah, prince is a title, not a thing because you're a boy who happens to be a prince. You are, just and the fluidity that it comes and goes. Like you're a prince of the third, now you're of the fourth, now you're of the second, now you're back.
Right.
It's very. It was. Let me say, it was a reveal that was shocking, but not too shocking
Okay.
because there's a lot of not like hints, but she's always played up as knowing more or acting more and very. She knows a lot of the court going ons.
Yeah.
So it didn't like oh my gosh, I would have never predicted that. If you'd been like
Uh-huh.
name one twist you think could happen for Zilsa or whatever, I would be like, you know what? She bet she worked in the court somehow or in the palaces somehow, right? Or
Mhm.
she has a connection there. And so it was a good twist, but not a startling twist.
Okay. Yeah. I liked her a lot. I think she really came into her own, and then, like, I do appreciate that because, like, in the first book, her and Jervy's relationship, the
Their
bickering,
thing. Yeah.
yeah, was, like, getting a little too much, which I think was intentional by the author because that's how the characters that were traveling with them were feeling, and then just, like, giving more depth to Silsey, however you say her name.
We we are
Um,
so sorry, Kate Elliott, that we cannot pronounce her name.
I don't know how to pronounce the X. I am pronouncing it as if it's, like, Chinese, like, where it's a SH sound, but maybe that's not right. Maybe it is
I
more like a Z.
I have
Um,
no idea.
but anyway, so her giving her character more depth helps bring more depth to her and Jervy's relationship as a whole, understanding
Mhm.
why Jervy would feel like inferior and like afraid to bring up his family situation and everything. Um the character that I felt kind of just got left behind, not literally, but just like um
Figuratively.
yeah, is no,
Ipis?
Ipis.
Ipis,
Ipis?
yeah, Ipis or Ipis. I can't disagree with you. I have a hard time really. I would agree.
I
Like,
felt
there's not
like
a lot.
yeah, like her involvement became much less important and prominent as the story went on. Like her and Kem's relationship was
Mm,
a thing um focused on a little bit more in
sure.
the first maybe quarter of the second book. But then like later on, it's almost like she didn't need to exist or like she was just there to be a body.
That's yeah, that's I agree 100%. That's okay. Sometimes that happens.
What about Lu Luviara?
Luffy was an interesting one because from the beginning we know that all is not as it seems with her
Right.
because, of the chapters that are talking about her. But I didn't foresee everything that went on with Thalen, Lord Thalen being like, "Oh, we worked together to make this trick," and then there's a lot of travel back and
Yeah.
Princess plan like, "Oh, it's fine. I'll just set guards and they'll kill her when she comes back." You
Did
can't
you
just have that be your
expect did you
go.
expect to just not see her again after she was sent away?
I kind of did, but at the same time, I was like, this might be a subtle misdirect that like we're gonna like she'll sneak back in somehow, and that'll be because at that point I was thinking, we learned that it is Prince Minal Yavin,
Min
the
or Minalane or
Minal,
something.
yeah, he's the one who's been behind everything as a ploy to catch Gavulin, and I was like, okay, so maybe she'll get back at the last minute and they'll think they have everything solved and then that'll throw it all into chaos. And of course that's not what happens at all because it's thrown into chaos in many other ways. But um so yeah, I didn't surprise me, but they did flat out say like, yeah, Lord Thellon will probably just have her killed like before she leaves because he doesn't want them to know about the easy access to the roads, or that they could get
So
through it.
so I think I mean, I do think that her character was a misdirect in that there there were chapters where it was, letters or the diary of
Yeah,
Luviara,
uh-huh.
right? Like, talking about the Four Lands and, like, the heart temples and, like,
Yes.
who built them and what is their purpose and everything, and, like, how, she reveals that, there were just chunks of the history that were either deliberately destroyed or like hidden and like, locked away. So I thought there was going to be more there.
Why? Well, there's one chapter that's like literally the whole chapter is just a journal note from her or
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
something, and it's like written in the margin is the name of it or something. And I was like, this has got to be important because I even went back because I
Yeah,
was like, it's just one chapter. That's a whole chapter. I was like, this has got to be something that's
right.
coming, or and I look over it and I'm like, and it's not. It's not nothing, but it's not like incredibly helpful or
It's not like
useful
a
to like
big
know in this.
reveal
Yeah,
or anything.
it's not like there's something in there that would have been like, "Oh my gosh, it was in that chapter the whole time, and now I see it looking back."
Yeah.
It's just like, "Nope, that was just a thing she did." And it's fine. That it was a good misdirect.
I do think that this is a series or story where you're gonna have to be okay with not getting all the answers. Like
Oh, for sure.
you do not get a ton more details about the sorcerers and the wars and, like,
I
who
so
built the
want
witch
more.
road.
I want so much to know about everything. Like, I just want to know.
Like, there is a lot of world building in this, but then, like, it's also not enough sometimes,
Well, it's
where
just
yeah,
it's those hints. She gives you a hint. Here's the
yeah,
witch road. Here's what we know about the witch road, but not
or
really
what
what it
people
is or
think they
why.
know.
Yeah, that's what exactly is what people think they know or what their experience with it is.
Yeah,
Oh, the witch road hurts L. Okay, so that's what we know. Like, but why? They
right.
have lines of, things with the air spirits can travel through the witch roads to get messages there faster.
Yes, which that was really
Why?
cool, but, like,
How?
yeah,
Yeah,
there's,
but it's not
like
what the focus of the story is on.
no.
It's the story
I
is
do think
definitely yeah.
I do think that maybe she'll come back to this world and write, like, new stories, not focus
Mhm.
on these characters, but,
That
you
would be
know,
great.
I think there's a lot of room for her to come back to this world and tell more stories. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was kinda surprising to me that we didn't get more information about the history and, like, maybe they found, a book that, was
Just
missed from the
survived.
purges, and
But
yeah, there
that's
was, like, all this revealed, but no.
that's something that's never doesn't it's not okay to begin with to purge your history and stuff, but it's never struck me as something like reasonable that a leader would actually want to do. Like, I can't have anybody knowing that I lost the lands to the incurable death fog that just happened to show up when I was the leader. Clearly, that's
Yeah.
a failing on my part. Like, I should have been better prepared for the intractable death fog. Like, but you purge that and then you just cripple everybody who comes after you, right? Because now
Yeah, but they're
they
not
have,
really thinking about that.
yeah, no, but I mean, I like to think that if I Chesky was the ruler of a grand empire and something had happened, excuse me, no, if I was the leader of a grand empire, the Empire of Chesky, and something catastrophic had happened, or I lost a battle or something, I would hope that I would not be like, you know what? Cut it from the history books. Everybody who was involved in it needs to die immediately. It's gone forever. It never existed. Because then when my kids are on the throne, they're going to be like, wow, we've never heard of these people to the west that we've definitely never fought before. and it'll mess them up, and then my empire won't last as long because we have no knowledge, like
Yeah, I think their approach to power was very different.
I
Yeah.
swear it's happened in multiple books I've read recently where it's
Oh,
just like,
yeah.
and they
That's
purged everything
common.
that was bad, and I'm like, it doesn't solve the problem. It just
Chesky, you're being too logical
I
and not
know. I should just
emotional enough.
I think I should just think with my emotional conqueror's heart. And the answer is that's right. Just murder everybody who disagrees with you because that solves problems. Don't
Uh-huh.
like gravity? Murder the guy who tells you about it. Problem solved. Gravity gone.
Right, right, right.
That's how it works, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
We get a lot less of the haunt, but how did you feel about him when he was there?
I I was really glad that he was back. Um, and I don't know, I thought he was a entertaining and comforting character. Um, I
He is
do
very
like that
comforting.
he yeah, I do like that he wasn't overly powerful, but sometimes a little too convenient. So, for example, like when they were rowing the boat on the river, like he's
Mhm.
like, I don't need any rest. So he can just like keep rowing forever and like he like Paul doesn't hurt him, so he doesn't need to like duck and like hide from it. Um
I liked the way him and Ellen interacted. Yeah, I know I said it was a lot earlier, but I still liked it. Right, where he's
mm,
like, "How are you doing, my dear? Like, I'm here to rescue you. Do I really
right.
have to save these other people with you? How about I just save you?" Or like, let's just go on. I just love that he always was there to like he took care of her, but he also let her defend herself or be herself,
Mm,
right? Like his protection and care wasn't like smothering in any way to her. He was just
mhm.
like, I am basically invincible. I'll go with you and do whatever you want for a while, like and but in a good way. Like the way I say it makes it sound bad or like too much, but like I felt like his was very like, sure, I'll help you save these people. Like, sure, I'll help you do this, but like never overwhelming her, letting her make her own choices, letting her, like they work well together, I guess is what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
yeah, yeah. And I did like that he had his own objective for, like passing into the bequeather, Captain Raven.
Mhm.
And it was something separate from L, separate from, what the group was experiencing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was trying to think about like what are the themes in this story and like, what are in-depth like discussion topics, but honestly, I don't have that much. I'm probably like other people are reading this are like, "Oh, here are these themes that would be worth discussing and exploring." To me, I just really enjoyed the story.
Yeah, I like the story. I was thinking of a theme earlier when I was kind of rereading some parts and stuff, and I've kind of forgotten what it was. But there's obviously this like the theme of like the political intrigue stuff is like its own theme, and like the discussion of that, like how does
Mhm.
this pass from person to person? How do you ensure safe survival of knowledge? How do you care for those you deem your family?
Mhm.
There's a lot of theming beyond L and Ao or Ao, her sister,
Mhm.
um,
Her
you
chosen
know,
sister.
her chosen sister, like and passing that legacy on to the other atoners, and like they provide a living legend kind of a thing. So I mean, like there are themes. I agree with you. There's a lot of themes in them, but it's just like to try and pull one theme out to just talk about right here with you and me. I think not that we couldn't have a good discussion about things, but I think you'd need like a little either more people or much more focused, like, this is the theme we're talking about. Here's a really good example of it in this book.
I think that you mentioning like the legacy and how legacy can be, let me rephrase. It doesn't have to be a prince or a celebrity or a ruler to leave a legacy. Like Elle and Ao left a legacy with the Atoners with their escape. And they then became legends and became this like symbolism of, what like of hope and comfort for the Atoners. So that was that was a nice like approach to legacy um that was different from like all these emperors and people with wealth and kind of just inherited power.
Sure. Mhm.
Yeah. But aside from that, I don't have too much else to say. Just I really like the world and a lot of the characters. I was
Yes.
kind of sad that the book ended and would love to read more in this world if Kate
It did
Elliott ever writes
end
more.
kind of abruptly. Not in a bad way abruptly, but you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's going and you're like, "And that's the end." It's like, "That was a good spot. I could also take a little bit more here at the end, move some of the middle to the end, and we're golden."
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think Kate Elliott does really strong character work. Her world building here was really good and on point. It's if you listen to us this whole time and you're here, then you know what we've already said, but it's a lot of small hints and treats at world building with an unknown history in this one. So much for you to kind of think about on your own and be like, this is how I think it is, or what, without, saying yay or nay on it. Leaves a lot
Yeah.
open to your mind to think about. Oh, I guess
Actually, um,
another,
are you satisfied? Are you okay with not knowing like Elle's origins? Because remember, like she all she remembers is she was in water and she was drowning and somebody had given her a scar. She, you know,
yeah, she's the Osuke, and we don't know anything about that or what it
nope.
means or anything. And,
Yeah.
um, yeah,
And we don't know like where the viper comes from.
I'd love to have more, but I'm also satisfied with what we got because part of the story is also Elle just learning to like she's facing these things that she's never faced before and about her past. Like
Mhm.
going back to the four lands and being like, oh, like yes, my life as an atoner sucked, like no doubt about it, but like the people are basically the same here. It's just a different system that they're in.
Mhm.
And just learning that like it doesn't matter where she's from. Like facing that again and being like, no, I'm still me, no matter where I'm from, and like no matter what I start with or had. That's kind of what it came to me as.
I think it was she was able to accept what, you know, things that she couldn't control and couldn't find answers to. And it was really about accepting who she has become.
Yes, you put it much better than I did.
No.
Yeah,
I
I
also
agree. I
think
think it's the acceptance though.
yeah. And that moment where, she tries to convince that little girl, the atoner, to leave with
So
her,
heartbreaking.
that was so tough. It was very touching. And, the explanation of like, look, the atoner chose to stay because she wasn't going to abandon, her chosen sister.
Yeah.
Um
And
and
Elle says it too, like, "Would you leave your sister?" "No, I wouldn't have left my sister either would have
yeah.
left without my sister either."
Yeah.
Especially after that gruesome description of the
I
atoner.
know. I
I was like,
know.
"Whoa, this is like not horror level writing, but like horror level writing, like this creature you've described."
Yeah.
In a good way, it's very evocative and very powerful, so
And I do think that that also left an impression on the prince where,
That's
you know,
true.
something that were very he was very clear about is like there's no power. There's no real power in like abusing the weak, like people who just like don't have anything and they can't
Yeah.
fight back or anything, you know? These are children. Like there's no dignity and integrity in that. And
Yeah,
so
there's
I
no
think it's
sense to it.
yeah, and it's not a really good show of force. You're not really a powerful person if you're just um like abusing the weak. So I think that also kind of showed a bit more of his nuance. What about the
Yeah.
Sarpa? What do you think of the
That's
it's kind of like
fine.
their version of dragon-ish, even though there is dragon with
Uh,
the haunt.
kind of, but not really. I don't know. I I'm not gonna lie. Some parts of this I was more than a little checked out as I was reading it because the characters were good and I like them, but like these parts where it's one convoluted plan after another that goes off the rails for spectacularly wrong reasons. So it's fine. It was Sarpa as a creature was intriguing to me and interesting that they have their, just if there's acid spit that they are trained and they
Right.
work on it and things like that. But it just, yeah, that's what I can say about it. How about that?
I thought it was interesting. Definitely felt a little bit more like a plot device. Um,
Yeah. Uh
but
huh.
I kind of gave it a pass because they did something really cool.
It's unique. It's
Yeah.
unique. You don't often see a lot of acid kind of creatures.
Yeah. Any last thoughts?
It was good. I enjoyed it. If you like good characters, you should read it.
All right. Well, thank you, Chesky, for joining me on this episode and reading this book with me. And The Nameless Land by Kate Elliott is out at your local bookstore. So pick up a copy. And with that, we'll say goodbye until next time. Bye.
Goodbye.